You're listening to Scribble Talk, a podcast for bid and proposal professionals. My name is Baachu, and with my co-host Ashley Case, we will be sitting down with our industry veterans to share their stories, discuss their career, and learn how to make an impact in the industry. Today's guest is Shashi Kukar. In the ITes industry for approximately 18 years now, Shashi started her career as a lecturer teaching English literature, but soon steered into corporate world. An accomplished content leader with diverse experience across the entire gamut of B2B content, research, marketing, knowledge management, and sales support, she has extensive experience in building content organizations, executing content, strategic initiatives, incubating, scaling content operations in B2B organizations. In a recent avatar as a content leader for Genpact PLC, she has successfully steered the team on a transformation journey. The team was awarded the Bid and Proposal Team of the Year at the inaugural edition of the APMP's India's Conference on Bid and Proposal Management, CBPM, with its team moving the needle held last year in Mumbai, India. Driven by an insatiable desire for excellence and making meaningful connections, her journey has been fueled with an unrelenting passion for empowering people and helping others maximize their potential. She's an avid reader and has a keen interest in literature, poetry, music, and spirituality. Wow, mouthful. Women and their unique place in society have always intrigued her. She's starting with her MPhil thesis on women in patriarchal structures. She continues to show her unrelenting passion in her writings, exploring the many facets of women, their identities, evolution through the interplay of human emotions. Wow. Welcome, Shashi, to Scribble Talk. Great to have you with us.
Thank you, Bhaskar, and what a pleasure to be talking to you.
Totally. So much to talk, Shashi. But let's go back to the very beginning. Where were you born, Shashi? And let's talk about your high school and education.
Sure. So, Bhaskar, I was born in, Jaipur. It's a capital city of Rajasthan. I think people are familiar with that. So I was born there, and my parents were actually residing in a hill station called Mount Abu, again in Rajasthan. And that's where actually I had my initial schooling till about my 10th grade.
Mount Abu, is that the tallest mountain or something in India?
Yes, absolutely. So it's a hill station, and it's the only hill station in Rajasthan, which is supposedly a desert and an arid region. So, that's a very unique and beautiful place. And I have lovely memories, of course, of the place.
Yes, and I haven't been to Rajasthan, but I'm sure people who visit India, they do this triangle, right? Rajasthan, Agra, and then Delhi. It's a beautiful place to be. So how long were you there, Shashi, while doing your education?
So, Bhaskar, in fact, till about 10th standard. So I think till about, till about 18 years, I was right there. Then we had to move out, for our college education. So I've spent about good 16, 17 years there.
Got it. And at what point did you leave your city? Do you have, which place did you visit for the very first time?
So I actually, like we said, that we were, Papa was actually working there. And so we had the privilege of actually, joining school there. This was a beautiful, convent school. And both aspects of me actually getting there, growing up, in a hill station, and then actually having an opportunity to go to the school have been very, very profound influences. So we did stay, like I said, there for about 18 years, doing all of the initial schooling. And then we moved on to Jaipur, which was, again, the place that, like I said, I was born, and my grandparents were.
Brilliant. So from Jaipur, where did you do your bachelor's degree? Did you do that in Jaipur as well?
Yes. So I did my, after I've done my actually, and this is a little bit of an interesting story. So, through the, early years, I always wanted to be a doctor. very passionate about that. And, Dad had always been very, very ambitious about us girls. I have a sibling sister, and a brother, of course, but we're just about a year apart. Dad had always been very, very, ambitious about us, and he wanted to really do, make sure that we really become something. And one of his vision was that we actually become take up a place in something called the Indian Administrative Services, which is, and these become like bureaucrats in the government. And that was his big dream. But my dream was to actually become a doctor and, having that connect with the people, serving people, and wanting to do that. So till about the time when I was getting into college, that was the whole idea, that I will really be, doing my, education into medicine. And however, things had to really change, and, life has its own, plans. And I appeared for the entrance examination for medical, and I didn't really get through, quite heartbroken there. Many a times here in India, they did say that if you, for example, don't get through, you can really drop, which means you drop a year and prepare again. Definitely, I didn't want us to do that. And that was also a time when my English teacher happened to call my parents, and they'd said that why are we really pushing her with science? She has a literary bent of mind. She is really passionate about English, and I believe she's writing poetry. Why are we not really, putting her into something like journalism? She especially called my parents to tell them that. And I think that perhaps changed my direction. No one in the family had ever taken up art. You know how it's in India, Bhaskar. So you're good with education, you're really scoring well, you have good marks. Those are the good students, and they will typically get into science, maths, all of that. And here there was a recommendation that was coming in, and I wasn't really very sure that, how would I really be looked upon? However, I did, feel a growing passion for English, and therefore I did pick up, English literature as one of my core subjects.
Wow. So from IAS to doctor to English literature. It's an interesting journey. And in English literature has always been, there's a fascinating story I learned about English literature in India, that was a course that the British set up while they wanted Indians to be part of their engine for this East India Company. And that English literature as a course is only done in India.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way that they've been doing it for a long time, from the Victorian ages, you could find the same level of like the Shakespeare's and the others done much more robust in India compared to any other places. So we have few graduates who are part of Scribble who do English literature as well. So I always talk to them about, they normally talk all this classics.
Yeah, true. So like I said, Bhaskar, school was a big influence, and Sophia High School, as it was called, right, was actually affiliated to Cambridge, and that's, I think, perhaps the seeds for literature were already sown, and so we used to have a library period, and I don't really think we have something like this. At least I haven't heard about it. And it was a mandate for us to be able to read 3 books in a week. And the reading became a habit. And when you're reading classics and typical books that you did, and I was a vociferous reader. So was my sister. We exchanged notes, and literature always fascinated me, but I really didn't think of it as a profession. But yes, as I look back today, I think the seeds were sown very, very early. during school time. And my early influences have always been my English teacher. When I go back to school, it is Sister Cabrini. She was the best. She was teaching us Shakespeare. And just the way she actually taught Shakespeare, I couldn't ever forget. And she'd actually, I remember we had something called The Merchant of Venice from Shakespeare. She read the book, she enacted it. Right. And the way she used to teach, and I always wanted, this is how I want to be. And this is how I want to really, be able to talk about literature. Still not really thinking of it as a profession, but that was a strong influence. And as I look back, as I've said, that, English teachers have always had a profound influence on, who I wanted to be as a person and as a woman.
Wow, brilliant, brilliant. I think listeners would have got the difference. The way I said Shakespeare and you said Shakespeare, they will know the English grasp on both of us. So
Not really.
Brilliant. So English literature, and what was your very first job?
So, I've done, I had completed my post-graduation, and after that, I was actually, looking into, I wasn't really thinking of, getting into a job. And mom was very, very particular that she didn't really want us, in fact, to be just a postgraduate like any other postgraduate and get into teaching. And here in India, we have something called a teaching degree, which is the B.Ed, right? Bachelor of Education. And while there's a typical norm of, good girls, studying art, studying literature, is that you typically get into a teaching job. Because it was safe, you were able to, do a work-life balance. And however, mom was insisting that we should be really going into higher education. And therefore, I got into MPhil. And after MPhil, I, was also doing my PhD. And that's where actually I had another major influence, which was my guide and my mentor, Dr. Jasbir Jain. And she was another person who really, people actually really looked forward to having her be her as a guide. And here she actually reached out to me proactively and she said, why don't you really do your PhD? And I just said, Mom, I'm really tired. I wouldn't want to do that. And she actually called up my mom. She said if she wants to take a break, let her take a break later on. But why don't we actually, get her onto the PhD program? And therefore, I did start with it, but unfortunately, I didn't finish it. And to date, I regret that. And I think ma'am has never really forgiven me for not really completing my PhD. However, that was also the time, Bhaskar, that, things were getting, really hot in terms of the marriage. Conversations were really happening. And so I took up my first job was a teaching job as a lecturer, teaching English. And, and I loved it. Although I didn't really, do it for a very long period, but it was absolutely, amazing. And like I said, that there was a Sister Cabrini who used to teach us. I wanted to be like her. And I think I tried to a great degree, follow the same kind of, things that she did. And I thought I was fairly successful there as well.
Very good, very good. Totally. I think once you are passionate about something, especially teaching is something that's always great. And I'm glad that you were exposed to that at a very young age. And at what point did you enter the corporate world, and talk us through your journey to Genpact?
Yeah, so very interesting, actually. Like I said, I loved teaching, and actually it really became a kind of addiction, especially the people connect, the love of the students. And I totally loved it. But that was also a time I got married. I continued again. After marriage, I moved to this place called Hyderabad, and I again continued my job as a lecturer. However, as you may know, that teaching jobs, unfortunately, here in India are not very well paid. And my husband was very surprised that with the kind of education and the scores that you'd had, meaning I was a topper in MPhil, I was a topper in, my postgrad, and the kind of, remuneration that you were getting, he said, meaning, why wouldn't you want to do something else? And he was the person who actually got me into, the corporate world. And we started applying for jobs. And my first job was with something called a company called Training Solutions. And they were, at that point in time, we were moving into that Y2 and the migration was happening and they needed people who could work on content around it. And that is when that was my first job in the corporate world as an editor.
Got it. And from then on, progressing all the way or doing different roles, when did you join Genpact, or is there any other important thing that you would like to cover at your career life cycle?
Yeah, so that was the first job, Bhaskar, and that was, very interesting because I didn't know the ABC of computers. And we talked about starting, and I think if you go back to those years, meaning I'm talking 1999, and it was not a time where everyone had laptops, right? I barely could really type on it, and here I was joining a company that was dealing, on software solutions, and I was looking at content that dealt with computers, and I was heading their editorial piece, and I didn't know, the ABC of editing. I hadn't done it. So right from this time of, putting it up, putting things together to actually putting the processes and learning along the way and learning computers, that was a fabulous journey. From there on, actually, I had a short stint with with media, which is, I was working for a newspaper as a sub-editor called Deccan Chronicle. It's a, very publicized daily in the South. And I enjoyed that, but I think perhaps culturally, I didn't really ever fit into that media world. I thought that was very aggressive, very, very, what should I say? Really not, I didn't really fit in that. And that's when I think I did come back and that was also a time when we were actually moving to Delhi. And I applied for another job, which was with an outsourcing firm, a knowledge management firm. I worked there for about 9 years. And that was again as the editorial director, global head of editorial, looking into research and editorial content, and of course, marketing and communication. After that is when I actually joined Genpact. And Genpact was actually a coincidence, and I think these guys were looking. They were at that point in time, going for a brand restage, and they were looking for a strong content person. And someone from HR reached out to me, and they just told me, "Would you be actually interested in doing that?" And I wasn't really very keen. I wasn't really looking out. I was doing well, and I said, "Okay, fine. I'd like to try." And they sent me a test, which was a case study and a white paper that I had to develop. I sent it across right from office. I did it and I just sent it across to them. And next day I got a call. I actually come over. And, I met the CMO and the reputation the lady had was a brave one. And, I was clearly warned by HR that, I should really take it easy and not really get offended by any remarks that were made or, that she would really grill me per se, and I should be really okay with that. And I should somehow try to wriggle out in 15, 20 minutes. And typically they were looking for someone. And they were desperate about it. And these were some of the inputs I got from the HR person. And I should just somehow keep the conversation short and try not offending her and come out of it. You wouldn't believe it. This conversation with her actually lasted one and a half hours. By the time I left, she actually gave me a hug. And, people were shocked. The HR person, and she said, and the lady had to tell me, I see so much of myself in you. I have been someone so passionate about content. You are just the person, that I wanted. And that's how my journey, this was in marketing, Bhaskar. And I had to really establish the something called the content shared services in marketing. And that's how my journey with Genpact began.
Brilliant, brilliant. And India being a very introvert society, for someone to hug you after an interview, that means a lot. I think that means how much you have connected there. So that's good. So again, Genpact is a global BPO company, and there are thousands of proposals at all level that you do. Talk us through about your team and the journey that you had with Genpact on the content management transformation, Shashi.
Yeah. Sure. So Bhaskar, I think, after I had done actually for about 2 years, I'd done marketing. And, on one of, like I do, I so strongly believe in serendipity. And as I was, thinking about, my life, my career, I just believe that there are things that had to happen and they just take you along. And so I was in marketing. I was doing again well. I was happy doing what I was doing. And one of the projects that this proposal, team lead at that point in time, or the leader, he actually asked me to help him out on a content assignment because he didn't have people who could really talk to the vendors and structure the proposal library. And this is something I'm talking good 9 years back. And I did, and he asked me to join the, first he told me that, I should help him on the project. And I did really get onto calls, and we did it for a good 1 month. And he just, after about that, he just told me, why don't you join me? And I was like completely abrasive. And I just said, meaning, are you sure? Meaning, what will a content person do in proposal, in this kind of team? It's such a back-end team. And I don't think I'll be, interested in that. And that simply shows my naivety and, the lack of information as, on the proposals management space per se. And I perhaps think that was also early days for this in this space as well. However, the person was persistent. And after about 3 months, he kept asking me, okay, fine, if not, you get me someone like you. And by the time I was nearly getting bored, and he did ask me then, why don't you, did you find someone, and what do you really want to do? What are you looking for? And then eventually we did have a conversation one afternoon, and I just said, okay, fine, let me join you. He immediately wrote a mail, and I was joining the team. And the mandate that I had at that point in time, Bhaskar, was that he was looking for a DNA change. He wanted to really transform content. And that's when actually truly my journey began. But like I said, I had no information, really, I didn't know what an RFP was. I knew content, I knew linguistics, I knew marketing content, but I had no clue what this RFP business was all about, who the stakeholders were, how was it going to be influenced. However, with my limited knowledge and my experience in content, I started to look at the content, and we started to really, with the rudimentary knowledge that you did have, try to create a library of sorts. And today I don't really hesitate, using the word rudimentary. It was as rudimentary as it could get. And then I think along with that, I was actually looking at, so I had about 5 teams. I had the content team, I had an editing and design team, and these are all teams that were built by created by me. And this was a very organic development that happened. As and when we said, so first we realized, we need people for content. Then you said, okay, you need people with domain as well. So those were the content folks. And then you had the editing. Then you needed creative folks, which were the designers. Then you hired those folks. And then we were actually doing due diligence, which was the, client visits part of it. When the clients came over, you needed content and collateral for those. And for that, you needed, videos and other creative, innovative stuff. And so that's how, I actually spent a good amount of 4-5 years there. And then I got into knowledge management in the same space only. And however, I think the bigger transformation, Bhaskar, came for me in 2018, and I think you'll be very familiar. And that was actually a landmark year for us in the proposal team at Genpact. And we were really kind of, at that point in time, looking for a change and looking for a transformation. Things had to be done differently. We were having issues with ROI, poor billability rates, poor conversion rates. And I think it was the first time, along with you, of course, Bhaskar, and AAA, where we actually designed, the transformation roadmap and, content being a key lever there. And I think this is truly the time when I actually got into understanding of what and how proposal content could really make a difference to proposals. And it's been an absolutely rewarding and fabulous journey that I've had, learned along the way. We're still on.
Wow, it's hard, especially for a very dynamic organization like Genpact, which talks digital transformation all across the world, to have a dynamic content library that comes with its own challenges as the world being attacked by COVID. And there is a lot of new solutions that's coming to the market. Good luck to your team and everybody who's involved there. Shashi, great work there. So, Shashi, I know I'll be asking it at the very end, but I might miss out. Just what one advice would you give a proposal manager or a content manager who's trying to build a content library?
So I think, Bhaskar, the one and the big one, just one thing if I had to tell people is that while we are talking proposals, they aren't business document, and while we look at them as technical documents, they are read by people. And actually it is a solution to a client problem. So I think the big thing that we never, and the starting and the end has to be the client, their hot button, their understanding of their challenges, and really what are they exactly looking for. So it is more of a partnership, a collaboration, and if that can really work well, I don't think there is no one who can actually stop you from getting a win and a proposal win, as we call it. So that's what would be my advice to anyone who will actually be in the content or the bid management space. Know your client and know them very well.
That's a very powerful advice, Shashi. Shashi, we talked about your career, your early life, and at some point, as you mentioned, part of the bio, that for the inaugural CBPM in India, that the team won the best team of the year. When did you join APMP as a member, and talk us through your journey with APMP?
Yeah. So, this is again, like I said, the last stint has been actually really, really very, very profound, purely because of the external influences that I've had and been able to, really understand the best practices in the industry. So you had, at that point in time, I'd actually already started exploring, talking to people, getting into more of a deep dive of what really proposal content mean and how you could make a difference. And that's when you actually came across, our leader, actually. In fact, he won the APMP bid team of the year for our entire proposal management team. And that's when actually I was really inspired that I think the kind of transformation that we had done within the content team, I thought it merited, I thought that we had some good best practices then. There was more learning we could do. And that's when I decided to really join APMP. And that's when I first got my taste of, what this really space is. And it was such a beautiful experience, hearing people talking about similar challenges, people talking about, about how they were really solving. And it really felt like a fraternity of like-minded people. And I think that was another big milestone in my, career.
Nice. Perfect. So we talked about a lot about the conversations already. Let's talk a little bit about you before we enter the official Nutters round in honor of Howard Nutt, the rapid random fire questions round. What are your hobbies and interests, Shashi?
So, Bhaskar, like I said, I've done literature and I have always been, fascinated by, literature, poetry. So I write poetry. I read literature. I particularly, anything that actually talks about the evolution of women and in terms of the portrayal of women. So whether it be, Rabindranath Tagore here, or actually I was doing my PhD on Thomas Hardy, his portrayal of women, and then the portrayal of women in Jane Austen and Pride, and even Charlotte Bronte, and in the older classics. So that's a perpetual long-term love that I always have with literature and classics. I'm very fond of music, purely because of the poetry therein, and so I'm quite mesmerized by music, and that's a thoroughbred. And I think I am quite spiritually inclined. So I am a Buddhist practitioner. So I practice something called the, Nichiren Buddhism. And I think that's another big influence. And I spend a lot of time meditating, chanting, and studying on this, unique philosophy that we do have. And I like to spend a few seconds there. So the basic concept, Bhaskar, of this philosophy is, about human revolution, what it really talks about is that as individuals, we're all Buddhas. There isn't anything outside you. We are all, Buddhas. You just have to manifest that Buddhahood, right? Which is basically your courage, your compassion, and your wisdom. And if you can actually manifest that, you actually bring about a human revolution, and you fulfill your potential, and you actually change the way the world is. So you actually bring in happiness for yourself, and you bring in happiness for others. So that's, I think, I started this journey in 2017, and I think I'm getting more and more deeper into that. So these are some of the things that, where I'm spending time.
Nice. I'm sure listeners would have picked up all the classics that you talked about. I had no idea because I only read comic books, the animated books.
I hope I'm not bored, folks.
No. I think you are a hardcore proposal person who is into it. I think people with journalism background and English literature, they had an avid interest on reading classics, but I'm sure people will be there. And again, the other part that you mentioned on music, what sort of music do you listen to, Shashi?
So I listen to, I'm not too sure, Bhaskar, you'll be aware, one is the ghazals. In Hindi, the ghazals, and it's some beautiful poetry there. Then I love to listen to Sufi music, old retro classics, and both Hindi and English. So I just truly love listening to those.
Yes, Sufism always fascinated me. And recently I started to listen to Noor and Sisters, how they bring entertainment to the full Sufi things. It was quite amazing. Yes. So, yes, because since, as you know, you always say that in every podcast, since my wife is from Japan, and even before that, I had the influence of Buddhism in my life. But then I was pretty curious on the different forms of Buddhism and the Nichiren Buddhism. On how do you call it, Nichiren or Nichiren?
Nichiren Buddhism.
Yeah, so I think that's it. One of my very close friend, he even does this chanting, right? Like Namyo Rangya or something like that.
Absolutely, bang on. Yes,
that's
correct. It's Namyo Ho Renge Kyo.
That one. I think he always tells me, do that, during times of crisis or doing this. That's brilliant. And I visited the temple. It's called Kamakura in Japan, where the original teaching started. It's quite fun. I think you should at some point travel there. You will find, I think gradually that Kamakura school, there were 3 or 4 big schools of Buddhism, and it just went off the same thing in the Nara as well. There is Nara school of Buddhism, which came from the South India, during some point when India used to be strongly Buddhist, right? So the very first Buddhist temple in Japan was actually presided by monks from South India. That's how it was. So that the cultural touch of the Buddhism they practiced in Japan to what used to be in India used to be very similar, and that's why you may be able to connect it much stronger.
Absolutely, I think the source of it lies here. And it's like, then perhaps in the latter day, as we say, the latter day of the law, I think that's where actually, Japan became a hub. And of course, today in India, it's a very strong community, but overall, it's across the globe. And I think the biggest touch point is the focus on the human revolution part of it.
Correct.
Anyone outside, you're just trying to manifest your own, goodness, wisdom, courage, and trying to become a better person.
Totally. I think that's it. The more you know about yourself, the more you feel how much you need to work on yourself compared to try to do other things.
Absolutely.
That's great. So I know we talked a little bit about your hobbies and interests, and you already mentioned that you are an open book, Shashi, but still I'm going to ask you this question because not many people know on the other side of the pond. As you know, we have listeners in 44 countries. Tell us three things not many people know about you.
Now I think they would. So one, I think, is I learned Kathak, classical dance form. I just mentioned that I do write poetry. And then I have been a radio jockey. So Benny, I don't know, Bhaskar, you'd be familiar. We have at that point in time, we didn't have too many of these private services, but you had these all India radio.
Right.
During my college days, and that's when I started off as a hobby. And I was a radio jockey, and programs were very, 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 very popular there. One of the very few people, jockeys speaking in English at that point in time, especially in Rajasthan, you didn't have too many of them. So good mix of the Hindi and the English. So yeah, so I think this is something people would not know about me.
Wow, definitely. I didn't know about that. That's good to know. Kathak, radio jockey. Oh my God. Perfect. Let's officially enter the rapid random fire question round or the nutters round. There's no right or wrong answer. Whatever comes in your mind, go for it. And let's just go. Okay. What movie or book character are you most similar to?
Pride and Prejudice, the character of, I think, Elizabeth in Pride and Prejudice.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Why?
I thought she was a strong, willed woman, but at the same time, she had a very strong sense of self, and there is a very strong sense of emotional side and her attachment to the family.
Got it. Nice. Thank you, Shashi. What's that one food you could never bring yourself to eat? Which one? Sushi?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I am not able to.
Nice. Okay. Interesting. My wife is a sushi chef.
Right. I have tried, but it's a bit of a trial. I mean, it's a huge effort.
Totally. I agree with you. So it's people are not used to having raw meat, right? And I think what they do is not really raw, but the general perception is you eat raw fish and raw seafood and raw meat, etc. It's not the case, but that's great. Just to let you know, in 2019, the world's best sushi was awarded to a Spanish chef who made a curry sushi.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's all blended now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more of a mind block, Bhaskar. You develop a taste for everything, and if you don't try, you will never develop that taste.
Yeah, totally. I don't want to make you scared. I've eaten cockroach. I've eaten I've eaten frogs, snails.
I am not so courageous. Not at all.
So let's continue. If you could be invisible for a day, what would you do?
If there was a way, you could eliminate poverty, and you can, one way, if I get invisible, was try to actually, steal money from the richer folks and actually distribute it among the poor people. And, so there's a sense of semblance in terms of, especially people not really struggling for basics of food, clothing, and shelter. I think that's something, if I had the opportunity, I'd love to do.
Nice. Perfect. If a genie grants you 3 wishes, what wishes would you ask the genie?
That's a big one. So I think first and foremost, happiness and security for my family, health, happiness for my family. Uh, uh, and then I think my ability to be able to, I've always had this very deep instinct and, desire to make a difference. I've always felt that there's a purpose why I was born. And I'd like to make a difference to this world. And I'm not able to really, not really, point it, but I wish I could make a difference in some way. And perhaps I think it's in the space of doing something for the women. So, ask the genie to empower me to be able to actually, bring that influence and change the world for women, especially the crimes against women, if I can actually do something around that. The third one is the one that I just spoke about, eliminating poverty and hunger from the face of earth.
Oh, that's a big one. Totally. Yes. So what's something that you have tried and you will never, ever try again?
So that's an interesting one. So we both, my husband and I, we're very fond of traveling, and that's we love to go on vacations. And on one of the trips that we did have, to Austria, there was we actually had a visit to a coal mine, and there was a very steep ravine. You're actually this was more like a slide, but a very, very deep slide, and people had to really, people were sliding and they were sliding it so easily. I'm actually afraid of the heights. And however, the person convinced me and he said, okay, fine, you should do it. And I think I did it, but I think I would never want to try and do it again. I was screaming, shouting. I was thinking it's the end of the world for me.
That's it. Have you ever cried at a movie?
Many a times. I think every time, I cry watching a movie.
Nice. I think if you are spiritual, I'm sure you can connect to any soul at any forms, right? That's it. So okay, here is a question: if you got to choose between 10 years of being incredibly happy or to live forever, what would you choose and why?
I choose the former. I'd like we say that it's really not, the length of the journey that matters. It's how you've lived it. So I'd rather actually live a happy, fulfilling life and add happiness to people around me rather than have a long, long life and become a pain for others. More importantly, that you don't want to be a pain for others. So it's the former any day.
Got it. Why do superheroes wear their underwear outside their clothes, Shashi?
I've never been able to understand that. So to be honest, I don't have an answer to that. Of course, I find that ridiculous, but to be honest, I don't have an answer.
Don't? Oh, okay. So if you could be an Olympic athlete, in what sport would you compete?
So, Bhaskar, I think this is an area, sports is an area I haven't really been very active in. I have been very active with the culture, on the cultural aspects, but I haven't really done too much of sports, and very difficult for me to really think of anything. And at least at the level of when you're talking about all of, I don't think I can really pick on anything. But yes, culturally, I can think of multiple things that I'd love to do.
Nice. So that's the end of the rapid random fire question round. Thank you for that, Shashi. So
Wasn't that bad, Bhaskar?
I know, I've been kind to you.
Thank you so much.
So who are the people who have been the most influential in your life and career?
I think to begin with, Bhaskar, my parents, Papa, I think, gave us a dream. I can't be more grateful to him. And at that point in time, 25 years that we've been talking about it, I don't think women were looked upon as that. And I think he was not really talking about us getting degrees. He really wanted us to become thinking women. People who could think on their own, who wanted to do something and make a difference. And that I think was profound at that time. Both mom Papa. I think so that's first. Second, I think is the teachers. I spoke about, three of my English teachers. So Sister Cabrini, Sister Verona, and then I had my English professor while I was doing my MA and MPhil. She's been a profound influence for me in terms of not just, literature and classics, I think more of shaping my journey as a woman. Because when I was doing my MPhil thesis, it was on patriarchal structures in the novels of Jane Austen. She again put me onto a topic, and this is very interesting: contrary self-sexuality and social morality. We have very interesting discussions, about the role of the more men and women and how their relationship is complex yet so very sweet. So profound influence, on me. Then it came to the career front. I think my earliest influence would be the leader I spoke about, who really pulled me from marketing to this space called the RFX. And I thought, he was an excellent combination of the micro and the macro. And then more recently, I think it's been, the leader we're talking about. And I thought it was because it's a phenomenal transformation journey. And that I learned a lot during this stint. So these are the people who've really influenced me.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. So who is the kindest person you know?
I think it's my sister. So I really wouldn't really call her the kindest, but I really have always, been surprised at her selflessness. So she always puts us or everyone else, ahead of her. I'm not too sure how she really does it. And she's just a year apart. She's a younger sister. But right from, our early days as little kids to how she is now, I totally, really, I'm flabbergasted by her kindness and selflessness.
Nice. Who haven't met for a long time and you hope that they're doing okay?
That's interesting, and that's a nostalgic one, actually. Yeah. Who would that be, actually? Perhaps I think it'll be my English professor, as I spoke about. I think she wasn't very happy when I actually, discontinued my PhD after my marriage. And I always have this regret of, I was actually afraid not. And like I said, that she's been a big influence. I actually at least wanted to see her and say sorry to her because I thought I'd let her down.
Yes. Yeah. I think I just say hello, and because every now and then we share moments with people, and those are the moments that people always remember, Shashi. It's not, as you said, it's not a quality of life, right? It's those moments that you live and share with people. And I'm sure, you was and it will all be.
Yeah.
So what is one personal trait you like the most about yourself?
So very, very interesting. I think if today when you ask me that question, Bhaskar, I'll actually very confidently say it's my emotional vulnerability. About some years back, I used to always see my emotions as a weakness. I was always told you really wear your heart on your sleeve. And I was always, especially in the corporate world as a leader, and as part of the executive presence, if you got to be seen there, been there, and all of that, you really had to really curb that. It took me a while, and I think this part of it is my spiritual journey with Buddhism. I think I started to admire that, and I just thought that's a strength. Being vulnerable, being open, being able to, really, stand up for what you really believe in. Without really wearing any masks, I thought is a big strength. Yes, there are pros and cons. That things don't work, but that's all right. I think it just gives you the best, relationships that you could have, and that's what matters to me.
Totally, totally. You've always been a strong sharer in the public domain as well, about how you feel, what you like, and how you see life, etc. Sashi, please continue to do that. I think it's
Yeah, I can't help it. I know no other way, Bhaskar. I think we spoke some time back, right? I did say that, what you see is what you get. So for me, this is meaning I really don't know how to be any other way.
Totally, totally. So let's just, so continue to be yourself. That's the main thing. So who has been the strong influence in your life and career?
In my career, I believe, like I think I've spoken about it. I think you pick up different things from different people, and you pick up, things that you don't really want to do. So I have also, I forgot to mention that my husband has been a big influence and a mentor and a coach and influence in who I am today, especially in the corporate world. Like I said, he was the one person who actually brought me into the corporate world. And with his, years in GE, I think he's a very passionate leader. And I think I've grown, to be a leader watching him. Just the passion that he has for his work, for his people, the way he fights for them, I thought that became a part of me. So that's one big influence, and it continues to be because, even when our chips are down and I say, okay, fine, I'd like to give up. I didn't get this, I didn't get that. He'll always put me back and bring me back, into perspective and say, look at the larger picture. It isn't really about, the tangible impact and outcomes you got. Did you grow as a person, right? Leadership is all about, being able to make a difference for other people. So yes, I think the closest influence I have is at home.
Brilliant. I've always asked this question. Just to remind people, don't forget your partner in the conversations.
Yeah. And I think when you did say, I said, I've spoken about many people, but I think, yes, this is the strongest. And it's an honor. And I think besides being, partners, I think ours is, wouldn't really, we're the bestest of friends. And I think critiques and great, really ambitious about each other. Bhaskar. And I'm absolutely grateful for that part of my life.
Totally. So what's the best piece of advice you have received and from whom?
I think I just probably gave that, but I think, I'd actually, want to give that to my mom. And I think it matters a great deal to me that despite all of the success and the manifestations of success, as we do call it, at the core of it, I think you're a woman, and I think the woman has immense power as a nurturer. And I think mom always told us that no matter who you become and whoever and what you earn and whatever you do, never forget your role at home. So you don't really become little by cooking, by taking care of your hubby, by actually doing things around the house, because there's no one else who can really do it like you.
Well said, Sashi, well said. So Sashi, we talked about your early life career, your hobbies, interests, 3 things not many people know about you, and APMP, Genpact, content management. What's next for you?
And that's an interesting question. And that's a question I'm asking myself. But I think one of the things that, Bhaskar, the journey that I have traversed, and I think purely in the proposal management space, I think I've just come to love this space. And I can now safely say that I know something of this space and, what really works. And I'd like to really give back to this community. That's one big thing. And another aspect is that I'd really like to, be a mentor and a coach for youngsters, and especially women, because I think they straddled two very critical, aspects of life, work and home. And, I'd really want to be able to, be that strong pillar and support for women, especially in the corporate space. So, and perhaps at some point in time, want to be a motivational speaker and TEDx maybe.
Nice.
Yes.
Definitely. I think you have a lot to share there, Shashi. 100%. You should give even more and more in different forms. I think you have done. If you want to come back to radio again, podcast like what we are doing is a good channel. More than happy to host you again and again, or have you as a co-host for certain segment as well. Continue to share. Really happy to have you today at Scribble Talk. Is there any part of your life or career? Is there anything else that you would like to share before we close, Shashi?
Not really, Bhaskar, but I think because I think this has been what should I say, a walk down memory lane, and I thank you so much for that. And I think as we walked on, as we spoke, I thought that became quite nostalgic. Just gratitude, absolute gratitude for people who've made it possible, people who actually made me who I am today, and have supported me on my journey. And and that's my family, my own team members, my peers, and people like yourself, of course. We were just speaking about this morning. I've always been, loved your aspects, the emotional, and the kindness that you do bring out. And I haven't really, to be honest, I haven't seen many men do that so confidently and with such an elan that you do, Bhaskar. So, meaning absolutely inspiring. So great. And we need more of that.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, Shashi, it's been an absolute privilege to have you with us at Scribble Talk. Thank you so much for your time. Wish you, your family, and all the loved ones and family in Genpact all the good health and happiness. Continue to inspire everybody. Stay sane, stay healthy, and stay happy.
Thanks a bunch, Bhaskar. And absolutely, like I said, this was really a walk down memory lane. I think it'll take me some time to actually wean off this energy. So beautiful. Privilege for actually to be there with you on this conversation.
To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Please visit baachuscribble.com/podcast to listen to this episode and check out any of our other previously recorded episodes. If you've enjoyed today's interview, don't forget to subscribe, review, and share the Scribble Talk podcast. We hope you'll check out our next episode where we interview another industry expert and special guest. Until then, it's Ashley Kays,
Bhaskar Sundram,
signing off.